across the world for conventions, and then there's one in my hometown, and I can't even get to the darn thing. I'm flying out of town tomorrow, so I have to miss tomorrow as well.
What do you do? Who are you?
I'm a filmmaker.
Oh yeah? Cool.
Hey man, join the club. Wait, you probably were in it longer than me.
If anything, you join the club.
Yeah, okay.
It's an interesting
Hello,
club
hello.
to join.
Hey buddy.
Hello,
So,
you.
I will introduce myself. I'm Thomas Gofton. I'm a born and raised Guelphite. 100% make my living off of the film industry. I make a chunk of that off of doing visual editing. I do a good chunk of that out of acting. I do some of that out of... most of my money comes from producing projects. And recently, last year, we marketed, and the year before, I conceived and shot a web series. Tried the whole web series circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And last year we marketed it pretty much across America and the UK. So we were at every con except for San Diego, because that was too hard to crack. We couldn't get into that one. But we were at every convention, pretty of the big ones across the US, from the New York Comic Con, Dragon Con, Gen Con. If you've ever been to any of those ones, if you got to save up some money to go to a con, you got to go. If you're a gamer, you got to go to Gen Con. And if you're a cosplayer, you got to go to Dragon Con in Atlanta. Oh my God! You'll stand there for 20 minutes and watch people walk by. You'll never see the same cosplay twice, and they're all like top-notch, master quality
Nice.
cosplay. And then of course last year we went to Anime North as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not from an anime background, so the whole time I'm sitting there with one of the fight choreographers who was a huge anime guy, and I'm sitting there going, "Who's that?" He's like, "Oh, that's so and so from such and such." What? Who's that? That's so and so from such and such. What? What's that from? That's so and so from so. Why are those girls dressed like that? Oh, well, they're way too young, and that's the what's that, the porn stuff? And I was like, what? They're like 14. They can't be dressed like that. What are they doing watching this kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so I've had a lot of great experiences at conventions, and Con G's pretty cool actually. It seems to be running really well. Anyway, I started my career in the feature film industry, very very small on the totem pole there. But from there, I delved into the television world for a while. I was pretty novel and new, and from that I decided I'm very self-initiating. So from that, my studio here in town was growing, and we had all of our own gear and stuff. So we decided, okay, well, we're gonna make some, instead of shorts and things, we're gonna try and actually produce a web series. So we created this fantasy series. It's called Mind's Eye.
Oh, I saw you in Fan Expo.
Oh yeah, the Fan Expo? Yeah, we were at the Fan Expo too. So we made this fantasy series. It's an interesting little show. You can't watch it anymore because just recently it has been picked up, and so I go to Toronto on a fairly regular basis to discuss with the network what's happening to it. That's a whole other ball game. And I figured it would be kind of cool to do a panel about making a web series here, because a web series is fairly inexpensive to make. It's something that you all could probably do completely on your own or with the help of your friends. There are a lot of options and ideas you can pull off, and I think a web series is sort of the artist's way of saying, I want to tell my story, but I don't want to have to go through a lifelong career to try and get in front of someone with a lot of money to accept my story to tell it to the world. So you can tell it to the world on YouTube and Vimeo and Coldcast TV, and there's so many different portals for web series now. And I'm hoping that today, it's very loose, I've just got samples and stuff I can show you if I can get this thing to work, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to engage me on what it is you do and why you want to do it, and then I'm hoping I can give you guys some advice on what I did and the copious amounts of errors, and like the 80 grand I blew learning those copious amounts of errors in making your own show, and how to make it a little more successful if this is a serious endeavor for you, if there's something you want to go forward on. Yeah.
$80,000 on the series?
And I spent $80,000 on marketing the series.
Oh, okay.
That's how much it cost me to go to all the conventions around the world and market it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it was a blast. I mean, the cons are great.
By the way, do you need a hand with this?
No, I haven't plugged it in yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking too much. I'm a guy. I can't do two things at once. Right? So
Oh, yeah.
it's either I'm going to be on the computer or I'm going to talk to you. And I figured I got your attention now, so when I see you start to text and things, that's when I'll just go to the computer and pull something up. So, this is a small crowd. It's intimate. I've had larger crowds at like Gen Con. I sat on a panel where we had about 200 people, so I couldn't get as intimate with the crowd as I wanted to.
Just to let you know, I have a crew of 8 here who all wanted to be here, but they're off covering other things.
No, I like the small crowds. I personally enjoy the smaller crowds because I get to know them, and people get to ask more intimate, interactive questions, and I'm able to sort of tailor my advice to you more specifically. Whereas when I'm in a larger panel, it can be a little difficult to try and give specific advice because there's such a broad range of people out there, and they all have different levels of success. So, who here has made a film before? One person. Oh, you made a film. 2 people. That's awesome. Okay, so who here is really wanting to make a film?
Well, we got some stuff in scripting.
Okay, so 3 people that want to make a film.
Series.
The rest of you are here because you're just curious about the whole idea of web series?
Well, I just read web series, and then how to. I'm like, well, I'm assuming it's a web series that everybody's knowing and talks about how to do something.
Yeah, how to
So
do
now
web
that
series.
find out that you're talking about how to web series, find it interesting because always had an idea not of telling a story, but making a web series of any sort of stuff that I like to do.
Right. Well, that's good. That's exactly what I'm hoping to get across to everybody here. So,
Put on
web
the
series.
top bag.
The first thing about a web series is because you're going on YouTube, you don't really need to worry about the things that television would have a problem with, like logos and things like that. So you can kind of get away with a lot more than you would going to television. So you don't have to worry about your Converse shoes or your your Doctor Who shirt or something of that nature. In fact, you can get away with incorporating some of that into your show and helping people sort of understand where you're going with it. To monetize a web series, just to let you know, if you're looking at trying to make money off of a web series, it's probably not going to happen. In fact, pretty much guaranteed, unless you're Felicia Day, and you've already got a pre-existing Joss Whedon fan base, and then you tailor your web series on World of Warcraft, which is probably one of the most popular MMO games of all time. Once you put those factors together, and then you start a show, of course you're going to get gajillions of hits, and you're going to get all kinds of stars to join your show, and you're going to get money off of it, and you're going to get invited to go to cons and do signatures and all that stuff, and you're pretty much self-proclaimed yourself as a celebrity, and you're good. But for actual trying to make money off of web series that probably we can create, I barely made any money off of this whatsoever. I think in total I spent well over 6 figures on the show, in marketing and everything, and I think I pulled back maybe 15 grand. But I went into the show knowing that I wasn't going to make any money back. The whole purpose of this, and this is something that you can do as well, there are a lot of innovative ways to do this, by the way, so don't be intimidated. When you make a show, this is your vehicle. This is any show that you want to make, it's your vehicle to get noticed. How you do that, everybody is different. Like, there are so many different ways to get noticed as a web series creator, as a YouTube blogger, or whatever you want to put on the internet. Just uploading it to YouTube and then telling your friends at Facebook to go watch it, probably not going to do very well unless you're super popular. and still, they're going to watch it and they're going to say, great, you're going to get a whole bunch of likes, and that's the end of it. So, I mean, I had to go to conventions all over the place. I'm pretty sure everyone here may not have the resources to do what I did. Heck, I didn't even have the resources to do what I did. I just found a way to make it happen. There are so many tricks and tactics to making a show successful. One is never say no to people when they want to talk to you. So anybody that wants to talk to you, you don't know who they are. And a good example of that is, so I was at a function, the Fan Expo in Toronto, and this person introduced me to another person who I didn't really know, and it's like, oh, you should talk to this person. I'm talking away. Didn't know anything about the guy. A year later, we get back together, same sort of party at the Fan Expo, and there's the guy again. He comes up and he goes, I've been watching your show. I've been checking out where you've been going. It's been pretty neat. I find out the guy's like an executive, and he's the actual person who ended up buying the show. So he was watching me the whole time create a campaign around my show. So whatever you make, you gotta create a campaign around it. But before that, before you create a campaign, you gotta research what your show is gonna be about. There are thousands of web series out there. You can go type web series into Google and you're going to get links beyond belief. You're going to be watching them until the cows come home. But you need to figure out, okay, genre. What genre is going to work? Your budgeting. You're probably going to have next to no money. And if you have next to no money or no money at all, your stuff's going to look somewhat campy. Mine looks campy. That's fine. If your stuff looks campy, what is allowed to look campy? Sci-fi. Sci-fi comedy. Right? You can get away with the Spaceballs and make it look really uber cheese, tinfoil armor, and whatever you want. You can get away with that. Fantasy by nature is campy unless you're Lord of the Rings, right? And even still, there's an element of camp to that, right? So I mean, fantasy by nature is campy. If you're going to do an animated series, you can pretty much get away with anything you want, so long as you're. I mean, there's all kinds of animes now. You can do your graphic novel anime where you draw your frame, cut a few pieces out in Photoshop, or download Photoshop somewhere. You can cut a few pieces out, and you can have the pieces animated, put a voice to it, and have like bubbles of text pop up. That's considered. You can make a web series off of that. Anybody here know Red versus Blue?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Genius, though. I mean, genius web series. Think about it. They're a web series, and what is it? It's just a bunch of video footage of the guys standing there having a conversation about something that's going to happen that never really happens. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Until Monty Ohm joined up.
but what I'm saying is that look how popular that is. I mean, I've seen them at a dozen conventions, and they are just loaded with traffic, selling DVDs and shirts, and they're amongst the top web series success stories out there. So, but how clever is that? All it is video game footage. Right? So think about your idea. Hi, it's my Facebook. I came to life. So,
Yay.
so here's a question for you. Who has an idea? Who has an idea that they've always wanted to just see on a screen or see somewhere? Yeah? You have an idea? What's your idea? Don't tell me your idea in front of the public.
I don't care if I tell you my idea.
Okay.
That's how widespread it is. It's completely scriptless. It's
Like an improv show?
no, it's barely even a show. It's just a series of what is essentially the same scene but done in different environments. We already have the cast laid out for it. Who's done for it? We're gonna start shooting probably within the next 2 months. It's just gonna be around downtown Kitchener mostly, and like probably uptown Waterloo as well.
Right.
And it's just gonna be called The Chase. And it's just gonna be a guy getting chased by these dudes in suits. There's no script to it. It's gonna be widely audio based, and it's just gonna be wild.
Just doing it for fun?
Yeah, man.
Awesome. So that's it. So I mean, when I do the web series, I can't do anything for fun. Like my fun is my career, but I mean, for me, everything I do has to be some sort of marketing plan. Like I gotta find some means to an end to it to make it. Otherwise, I can't do it. But it's okay to do things for fun. In fact, doing things for fun is how you get yourself rooted into doing things professionally. I mean, you're gonna go out, you're gonna make this series, and you're gonna learn a ton of stuff. Things you do right, things you do right, things you do wrong. You're gonna put it out there, and you're gonna get some people to see it, and you're gonna hear a lot of feedback. And people are gonna say that sucks, or they're gonna say it's awesome.
I want both.
And either or, take that advice, and then make another show. Technology is so forgivable nowadays. I mean, the camera, you've got a camera. That could make you a good little web series. Do you know what I mean? It's like you don't need to have the highest brand quality camera with all these lens kits and stuff to make your show. It would be nice, but unless you're like me and take a second mortgage on a house to buy all your gear a couple of years ago. I've made it back, I'm good. But the point is, unless you're like me and you take a gigantic risk like this, just have it for fun. Get a simple little camera and go out and make your show. A couple things to consider. You're probably going to use your friends to make the show. And when you're using your friends to make the show, there's a couple of key warnings about using your friends to make a show. One, to your friends. So they don't take you as seriously as you'd like them to. As soon as you try to step up and say, okay guys, we have to get this done right, they're the first persons to go, yeah, right. Okay, here we go again. Right? So you need to treat them with somewhat of professional respect. Feed them. Feed them somehow. Pizza's cheap. Pizza's great. 17 days on set with pizza, they'll eat anything and they'll hate you for it, but at least you're feeding them. The other thing to consider is when you're doing your locations and stuff like that, just tell people the truth and what you're doing, and go out and shoot it. Try not to have explosions or stuff. Or, in our case, we had 7 kids, 7 guys in big black ring wraithy type cloaks with swords. We had a big red demon. Oh, the best was we had a big red demon in a Catholic high school scene we shot. I went to my old high school. I see if I can pull it out. I went to my old high school, and I asked if we could. It was Our Lady of Lourdes, and I asked them if we could, shoot a film in there, and I did all the appropriate things to make that happen. And they're like, "Yeah, great, no problem." And then, needless to say,
did they know about it beforehand?
Well, we told them it was a fantasy show of kids and imagination and supernatural stuff and magic and things. I thought, great. So it was a big fight between the heroes and a demon.
Nice.
And so we had this guy dressed up totally to the nines in red. I don't think I have it even on here. In red paint, he was totally done up, and he's confronting these heroes in the hallway. And see, here's that thing. don't think I have it on here. No. Okay. Well, I'll pull it up on here. You guys can see it from here. Want to kill a light? Oh yeah. Pardon? Kill a light for me.
Sure, what are they?
I'm just gonna show you a still of it.
Yeah, where are the lights?
Back here.
I'll actually pull up the scene from the hallway.
The switch. The switches.
Ah, there we go.
I should have a hallway scene.
Yay, mood lighting.
Back here.
Okay.
You know it's good when it's
That's
still
him in the hallway.
ridiculous. Nice.
A
Oh.
big red demon. He just caught a fireball shot by the.
Wow.
Anyway, that's the big red demon in the hallway. So the school lockers were torn out, so it was great. We had lots of room to set the cameras up and stuff. But yeah, the principal was there that day and he saw the demon walking. He laughed. He thought, "Well, that's interesting. He's got a big pentagram on his stomach." Yeah, it was great. We even put a cross upside down in one of the classrooms he was in.
Nice.
Did you leave it there?
No. I would like to use that location again sometime. The last thing I need is to have it upside down and then go, okay. Anyway,
Bridges you don't use again.
so that's a little set we built for the demon. Can we see that okay?
Okay, cool.
So anyway, yeah, you get your locations in mind. Tell people the truth of what you're doing. Understand that you're going to be doing things for free. So people are very forgiving. Coffees, food. Okay, so what did I do? I made this web series. I got a bunch of people to act in it. I got some friends, and I got some people outside of my friends. If you put calls out on Facebook and stuff saying, looking for cast, looking for crew, here's a show, it's a free show, we're going to shoot it for 3 or 4 days over the summer, blah, blah, blah. You'll get a good number of people that'll come and try out for your show. You can audition them. You can get your cast together, and you can meet new people in the process, and who knows? You might find somebody that's better than you come and join your team, and then they help you. And that's happened to us a few times. We cast someone in a show one time, and we found out that he is a pyrotechnics and wire expert for television shows, and he does all this stuff for things. This could sound kind of weird, but Little Mosque on the Prairie, and believe it or not, they actually did have a pyrotechnician doing fire on set. I can't figure out where in the show, but apparently it did. And he did things like Flashpoint and The Border, and he's worked on Resident Evil. And he comes out, but all he wants to do is start acting. So he just decided to do he's big on the totem pole when it comes to special effects and wires and stuff like that. But in the acting world, he's nothing. So he has to start from the grassroots up. And he came to us because it was a freebie, and he did his piece. And then in the process, suddenly our production went up because he brought his smoke machine. He had a ninja up on the trees and the wires. He was blowing explosions behind Bishop McDonnell. It was like, what? There's a high school here in Guelph. I was like, what? So, call out for people. Ask people if they know people that want to be part of a project.
To Craigslist.
Craigslist, Mandy.com. Mandy.com is also really good for that. So, okay, so I made the web series. I'm so haphazard, eh? Have I lost anybody yet?
We're good.
I'm like jumping everywhere.
Dude,
Oh, yeah.
You're good.
Do not assume that
I don't do the structure thing very well. I just kind of go bleh, verbal diarrhea, and everybody be like, "Here, you sort it out."
But I like
What a
bleh.
beautiful allegory.
Yeah, that's okay. Who's recording me? Damn it,
I am.
it's gonna be on the TV or
He's
web
recording
series
too.
or-
Yeah, we got 2 cameras going.
I gave
Great.
I gave you my card.
Don't hold this against me, guys. My secret identity. You can't figure me out. Okay.
Hold on.
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. Just to ease down my talking for a second, I'm gonna ask you. Anybody have any questions so far about what I said? Yeah.
When it comes to start a web series, right? And you said that you had all your equipments and all that. For somebody who's in a low budget or has no budget at all, is it okay to start with a regular camera?
Oh.
I mean, you wanna go professional, right?
Totally. But see, you don't have to go professional at the beginning, and you don't really have to ever go professional. I mean, look at the big craze of films that are out there now. Look at Chronicle. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can get away with shooting something like that. Well, obviously, maybe not like to that magnitude, but I mean, there are a lot of opportunities to shoot with low-grade cameras.
Cloverfield.
Yeah, that's right.
Cloverfield.
Cloverfield. Well, except for the visual effects, right? I mean,
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know,
using
but what I'm
using.
saying
For
is that-
half the movie.
but
It
you
was
got-
all just subsurface scattering and simple
But,
monsters.
Yeah.
but be warned that if you're going to do the low-grade film idea, like Cloverfield and stuff like that, it's been done a billion times. So do you really think an audience is going to want to watch a very, very indie version of a Cloverfield without any effects and stuff in it when they could just go watch it, Cloverfield, and be completely dazzled, right? So it's okay to make a project that looks ridiculously indie. here's what's going to change the game for you. Your idea and how you present that idea is going to change the game for you. Take a look at what you're interested in as a person. So for me, I'll lay it on the table. I grew up off of Dungeons and Dragons, okay? Huge gamer that way. I spent my 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th year, summer of my childhood, literally being that kid in the basement with the 2-liter bottle of pop, playing a paladin, trying to find his way back to his paladinhood because I keep doing the stupid things and losing it. So, you know, for me, most of the things that I'm going to do are fantasy oriented. I consider, you know, playing Dungeons and Dragons pretty much my whole life, and expanding into most of the other role-playing games, LARPing, watching every fantasy show you can think of as they came out growing up, reading some of the books, playing all the video games, Final Fantasies and stuff. I think I got a pretty good grasp on that world. So for me, that whole idea. So for me, if I'm going to make a fantasy series, I got to make sure I'm not going to step on anyone's toes. I don't really care about stepping on toes in a sense to make them mad. Because you can't, because you're such a little ant in the whole thing that they're not going to even notice you. But making something innovative. So look at your background. It could be whatever it is. It could be sports, it could be video games, it could be guns and rifles, it could be NASCAR riding. Look at your background. Look within that background and go, what hasn't really been done before? So here's something as an example for that. We're shooting a TV pilot this summer. And it's going to be fairly decent, considering we've got the clout now from the show being developed. And we've got the networks interested. They're not going to do anything until they see a visual of it. So we're going to go make a 45-minute full commercials. So I'm making it 1 hour, a 1 hour spot, full commercials. You know, title sequences. We're going to give 3 spec scripts afterwards, so you can see where it was going to progress if the show continued. We're going to cast some crazy actors from Toronto, whatever we can find. I'm going to pull in some favors from some of the actors that I know that can get past the union gates, so we can get some actual names in the project. And then the reason why we're making this pilot is because, for me, my fantasy background, there's a whole bunch of stuff done on King Arthur. There's Merlin, there's Camelot, there's all kinds of, Excalibur, there's King Arthur with Clive Owen, and everyone's got a different take on what they want to do with King Arthur. But no one's really done a modern interpretation of Pendragon. So our show coming up is Pendragon. So we're going to be shooting an entire series, modern day, some edge, like black leather, something a little more matrixy, but it's going to be all the Arthurian saga. Guns, swords, you think about it, magic users, but not traditional magic, scientific style magic, right?
Science fantasy.
Science fantasy. What's that, sorry?
Sci-fan.
Science magic.
Yeah, science magic, there we go.
No science fantasy.
Which is also
Sci-fan.
A sci-fi, there we go. We're attacking into both those markets. So, and that has got the networks going, bing. They're really interested in that because they're like, oh my god, there's a huge appetite for that right now. Camelot's gone, well, because they tried to compete with Game of Thrones. Sorry guys, you can't compete with Game of Thrones. Merlin is like stealing the show when it comes to the Arthurian legend, so they're doing great. And everyone does fantasy when it comes to King Arthur. Let's do a King Arthur story, and we'll set it in Britain, and we'll cast so and so as a knight, and in this version, let's make Keira Knightley a woad, and blah blah blah, which is great. But let's empower the female. She says no to Lancelot. That's awesome, but it's all fantasy still. It's all back in time. So let's go forward in time. Let's give Lancelot a gun, a nice silver gun. How does that change the game? You know what I mean? So. Yeah, so look at what you're. That's that's how you're going to change your idea. If it looks like crap, it's fine. But if it's an innovative idea, and you've put it out there in the market, if you're going to take the liberties to spend the money, for gosh sakes, like $30 or $60, to register your idea in the Writers Guild of Canada, it's going to save your butt. Because if someone tries to rip off your idea, you've got your butt covered. If you're going to throw your idea, this idea is pretty innovative. Okay, it's being completely meshed and warped to what it's going to be like when it shows up on television. But when I that's what a network does. You see what they're doing there. Anyway,
Are you still on sub discs?
no. I all I have is like a few of these left. They took them all and destroyed them. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So the ones you got, she was an extra in one of the school scenes. Anyway, lost my train of thought. What was that? Help me.
You were saying about registering that.
Right. So this idea is fairly decent. It's fairly original in the fantasy world. There are elements that you could say, oh, that's just like the Bridge of Terabithia, or this is like the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. Yeah, okay, there are a lot of elements in here. There's no idea that's original. Get over it. But this is a pretty neat idea. So it's all registered stuff. But the very reason that I put it out into the world on YouTube and got thousands of hits on it and went all over the place to conventions going, watch my show to people, and like we gained a bit of a fan base. You'd think, someone could rip it off. Like Disney could just look at it and go, that's a great idea, let's just rip it off. But they can't, because I've instilled it, I've injected it into popular culture so much that no one can contest that this was my idea. So if you're going to do something innovative, don't be afraid of the big boys taking it. Put it out there well, inject it like a virus, and hope for the best. But register it. Do something with your idea. Any other questions? And more,
When you say register with the Writers Guild of America, like
Canada.
Writers Guild of Canada.
5 minutes? No way. 5 minutes.
Oh, no.
Oh,
It's only 6:30.
I can't even show
No,
it.
I make sure, I check in periodically, make sure nothing's exploding.
Oh no.
Okay.
I
Great.
will be
Not yet.
vocal about the 5-minute warning.
Yeah.
What, so
Pyrotechnics.
Nothing's
like, you go
exploded
to their
yet, but the
website,
evening
you
is
go to
young.
an office or something to do that?
Yeah.
Like, do you have to
To
submit a
see how
script,
many
or is it kind of like patenting an idea?
No, I have to stand up because I can't see people. No, you have to. When you go to the Writers Guild of Canada, it's fairly simple. You'll be able to see. Oh, you want to see Superman as well? No. It's fairly easy to see where you need to go to register a script. And sorry, I guess I should have given you guys some warning. I did it all the time. And so, thank you, R2.
You got Mario and R2 in there?
Oh, I got Star Trek in there too. Lightsabers are gonna go off. It depends on who's emailing me or phoning me. Zelda
Nice.
theme songs, whatever.
Nice.
Nerd, come on. NerdCon.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Nerd power.
nerd power all the way.
Okay.
I don't think I'll ever make a thing that's not nerdy when it comes to the project. You're talking about registering. Yes, go to the Writers Guild of Canada. It's there. You can't miss it. It's like
as far as gear goes, what did you start with saying with that?
I'm sorry. What
As
did
far
I
as gear goes and like a size of a crew initially, what did you start with that?
Okay. Let's go back in time a little bit here. I made a short. My very first short that I ever made was called Mind's Eye, and it was a short film, not developed storyline. This has a whole universe developed behind it. It was just this little idea about kids using their imagination, and that project was made on next to nothing. It was made with a little camera. I bought some food for people. I caffeinated 2 or 3 crew, and got some kids. My cousin Alexa. And I got my cousin. I got my little brother. Whether he liked it or not, I forced him into it, and we just made the piece. Garbage. If I had it here, I'd show you just on posterity reasons, but it's complete garbage. I bury it, but that's okay. I'm proud of my garbage because it was the first film I ever made. Then, when we tried to pitch the show to television, and the first time we tried pitching it, and the Space Network turned it down, we made a 17-minute short. It was similar to this, with different kids and stuff like that. And that was made with a little more budget, a little more money. I had a camera, I had some lights, had more crew, and Space turned it down because they said they weren't looking for something like this. Fair enough. And then we made the web series. The web series, basically, it had about $80,000. I know, 80 is my magic number. About $80,000 in equipment, lights, camera, audio gear. We had a crew of 4 dedicated idiots
Nice.
in the most positive way possible.
Sound like
26 days straight, 18, 19-hour days. I mean, you saw us. We were like dogging it. We were just slaves. And I acted in it. On top of that, I played the Western Samurai. The other director and writer who wrote the entire script for this, he acted as the knight. And so, 1 minute we're like, okay, how's my makeup? Okay, my hair. All right, and action. And I'm into action. And when it's over, it's like someone else cut. I'm like, I didn't call me, and that was like day 10. So anyway, and we had a bunch of kids. We cast. We didn't pay anybody. The makeup, I spent about $2,000 on makeup in total.
Good
the whole
God.
thing. Oh yeah, I'll tell you, credit cards, best worst enemy.
Oh, I understand.
However, I
Yeah.
paid them down, so I was like, I have other ways to make money for it. But if you have a job, you just focus on it. Just gonna segue for a second. It's a hobby for you. Everybody has to have a hobby. If you're gonna buy an Xbox and 55 games for your Xbox, you're gonna spend an X amount of dollars. Well, if video games aren't as important to you and you want to be a filmmaker, take the cost of that Xbox and the 55 games you're gonna buy. Look at that amount of money that you're gonna spend on it and go, justify it. Okay, well, I'm gonna spend $1,000 on a show. Buy a video camera. Get a small mic. Get your buddies involved. Get maybe a little light, a small light for a couple $100 at a photo shop, at a photo like Pons or something. You can get like camera lights, which aren't professional grade camera like video lights, but they still are effective enough to light up a scene decently enough. and make as many shows as you can. You can use like Windows Movie Maker. There's lots of cheap editing softwares out there, free ones, freeware softwares you can get to edit on, until you start making some serious money, and then keep reinvesting it into yourself. And it's going to take a long time. I've been doing this for 5 years.
I think Final Cut is a worthwhile investment if you got $700 anyway.
Final Cut
that's
is
what I
not
did.
a worthwhile investment.
That's what I did, man.
It is.
I use Avid.
Avid. That's professional grade. If you
That's
use Avid,
good
you'll-
stuff. I've been to a few filmmaking courses. It's good stuff.
I'm not a fan of it
Retail?
personally.
Sorry?
Retail Avid?
Yeah.
What's the Avid retail at?
I can't remember. I bought it like years
It's a
ago.
lot.
It's a
Yeah.
lot.
Okay, I'm running a bit of the time here. Okay, so what I'm going
I'll
to
go
do
for you,
is 4 years ago we shot a web series called Deep 5H1T, and it's a Star Trek Spaceballs. Okay.
Nice.
We didn't finish it because at the time we couldn't get the 3D modelers to make us cheesy ships and stuff like that. But we cut it together. We cut this little episode together, and we keep it. And we are going to open this up again someday. I think this is our project for next year. But you can just take a look at examples of like what crappier work can be.
Shit space, that's beautiful, man.
Oh, there's no sound in here, right?
Well, yeah, you can't transmit sound off the. You have to use HDMI.
So this episode that we made is all about what's the purpose of a hot chick in a sci-fi show. So we built the ship in our studio. Cost us about $1,500. Took us about 2 weeks.
And that's not the correct use of the word.
Hey, captain's eyes only.
The costumes cost us about $200 to sew together.
There's not much to do right
And that's it, basically. We shot everything in that little ship room. Really cheesy makeup for the alien, but it's supposed to be really campy, right?
Yeah.
Do around here anyway.
Of course, I acted in it.
Oh, is that you?
Yeah, the guy on the left, right there, the captain, pretending to recite poetry.
That's Tom.
Yeah, the other Tom, yeah. So basically, she's discovering right now that she's useless.
Everyone was here except for me.
He stays. He's like, what do you want around here? Yes.
We're trying to. Then we had our Les as our HAL computer. We didn't actually green screen space like we were supposed to in the background. We just never got around to it.
Oh, really?
We were supposed to have, that's the front window of the ship, so we were going to green screen it out. We just never did it because when we decided to pause the project, we just
Oh, yeah.
talking about walking around with a tank top being productive on ship.
Is that all you guys see me as? A pretty face with exquisite breasts. Exquisite breasts.
Don't forget the last name. Stacy, man, of course we'll see more of that. We have a purpose on this ship. I mean, that's what we stare at, which is terrible. I think worship them.
We use Star Trek Foley in it.
Captain! Pirates! Where? How many? There's 5. No, there's 7. No.
So we never got to the ships flying around. So they get attacked. This episode's called Space Pirates, and so
Say it. Chase, base of action. Data Captain 16. Ship. Currently launch out with full power. Plus torpedoes. Alien. Consider power.
The alien.
Nice.
yeah, his name was Alien.
I probably would have started with the 3D shot to establish that they are in that spaceship. Otherwise, cutting to it kind of doesn't make any sense.
So now she's the only one left on the ship, and so, they just figure out what the purpose of her being on the ship.
Oh, I see.
And if she does something, it's my BlackBerry. That's
Space Blackberry.
I figure, whatever, it's BlackBerry, right? Just Canadiana.
What's the ripple?
Text somebody.
Kind of funny if you put like an extra foot on him,
Yeah.
Just a fake hand leg.
Stacy! I can't get up! I can't get up! Clarence, you gotta do something! Quick! Yeah, really?
So that she's supposed to kick all their butts right now. So you gotta imagine
God.
explosions in the background. She's like basically dogfighting and winning.
God damn.
Over here. Maybe over there.
You pass the point of fingers.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cease. I think I blacked out for a second there. You gotta get out of my spot. I gotta bring something.
So anyway,
Something about that. Oh, you got sparkles on my stuff.
so anyways, so they just don't appreciate her. So that was just an example. And so I mean, that's an example of something we made. In total, we spent about $3,000 on that. That's it.
Really?
That's a lot of money. People are probably like, oh my god, $3,000. $3,000. But you know what? Let's say you did something like this and you had Doctor Who. That's cool. There you go. Let's say you got a group of like 6 friends that are going to make a show like this, and you're all going to participate doing different roles in the show. Another good trick to do is say, okay, let's budget like a band would do for a music video. Let's budget.
Oh dear.
Let's budget like $2,000, let's say. And out of that, you're going to figure out what the budget's going to be because you're going to say, let's build a ship. $1,500 in material, no one's going to get paid for the time. You're going to shoot it over a week. You're going to pay everyone. Everyone's going to feed themselves. There it goes again. Peace out. And so, you know, everyone says, okay, if we're going to spend a total of $2,000 on the film, and there's 6 of us, let's divide the money equally. We'll all work our butts off for a week and an extra job or something, and we'll put the money in on the table, and we'll all work on it together. And then you make a piece, and you make something cool like this, and then you just whatever. You make a piece and you put it out there, and you know, putting $300 on the table may not seem as much if you get something like that you can show your friends, you can put on YouTube. You got a little nerd cred. You know, you get to write something clever. Everyone thinks it's hilarious, and you learn while making it. We learned that was 4 years ago. I can't even tell you the countless amounts of errors. When I was watching that, I'm just like, oh god, I can't believe we let that shot go through. Like there are so many errors in that, but you know, we learned 4 years ago. If we were to make this now, it'd be a completely different ballgame. Because I mean, we got better gear. We put more money into it. We take more time. We know what happened. The ship was half bowed because we didn't treat the wood right, and so whatever. So I think we're getting close to the limit. Does anybody have any other questions for me while we go through it about anything that you need to know for now? No. No questions about making a show? Yeah.
When it came to marketing your show, you said you spent your $80,000 touring around.
Yes.
You said you made a bunch of mistakes. What would you do differently now?
Okay. Well, the mistakes. Okay. So one thing I did is so for example, I go to New York Comic Con, let's say, which is a great example because it's the most expensive show. So I go to New York Comic Con. An exhibitor's booth costs $2,200 for a little 10 by 10 sack of crap, right?
Oh
That's
my
it.
God.
$2,200 just to sit in that booth. It's not financially feasible to do that for the exposure you'd get if you paid $1,000 on a retail booth or like $400, $500 in Artist Alley. You're going to get the same exposure. People that go to those conventions are going to walk up and down the aisles back and forth a billion times. They're going to see your booth no matter where you are. So, doing it again, I would go to Artist Alley and save myself $1,700. Right? However, because like I said, everything for me is business, I thought this show, and this is 2 years ago, and so this is even shot like crap, but I thought this show was going to go a lot further at the time as a web series, getting all kinds of hits, and it's going to be like The Guild and blah, 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 which is not the case. But so I spent the money on it to look more professional, to look bigger than we are. So by spending the $2,200 for the booth, we're in the exhibitor section beside Warner Brothers. We're in the exhibitor section beside Fox, and they got these giant booths, huge. If you've been to Fan Expo or the large conventions, you see the giant displays they've got going, and they got the alien carts you can sit in, and all this crap. And in between the two skyscrapers is the garbage heap, which is us in the middle. And we try to do our best with a couple 50-inch screen TVs and some speakers and a whole bunch of people dressed up and yada yada yada. But hold on to that stop for a second. But the big boys are turning and looking at it, going, "Well, that's pretty cool. What do you guys make that for?" well, that's nice, right? And they start to notice you. And then people walking by are going to go, huh, okay, the big castle, the little keep, well, they're still there. So if they're there, that means they must have more money, or they must be sponsored or something. Maybe it's worth taking a look at. People like to jump on bandwagons. It's like, that show is in the exhibitor section? I'm going to check the... And then, for that example, that guy that actually picked up the show, he's a producer that walks around looking for shows to pick up. So he sees us in the big boys league, the big boys pen, and he goes, huh, oh, those guys, I see right through their disguise. They're actually little guys. They're guppies. And they really don't know what they're doing. But they're trying. They're worth my investment in dollars. So it works. So it's a double-edged sword. One, if you really think your piece is going to go somewhere, do your research on it and be very confident. Go spend the big bucks. If you just want to get exposure for the first couple of shows, don't spend the big dollars on it. That's one piece of advice. The other one is, don't bring so much crew and then offer to pay for all the food and hotels. It kills you. I brought like half the cast to half these things. Wow. That's all I gotta say. A lot of money, a lot of time. Question?
Well, not really a question, just relating to what you said about having a little thing was Pioneer. Well, when I went to Fan Expo like last year, there was this huge PlayStation thing for Uncharted 3, and then right behind that was the Red vs. Blue booth. It was kind of small and dwarfed by this huge wall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But people were still all over the Red versus Blue. They were all over it still. And they were in the same section, but they could afford to be there because they would make that money back Friday on DVD sales. We had DVDs and stuff for sale. It maybe covered the cost of food, but still a cost covered. Anybody that has these things now, I guess they're going to be collector's items. Little hint, you're probably going to see this on YTV.
Cool.
That's where
Did Chorus sign it?
I don't know. Can't say much. Just give you a hint, man. You can't ask for more than that. Anyway, it's so.
Sorry, but like when you said...
I'm like,
either
what
that-
else could it
either that
be?
or Disney
Yeah,
XD.
really.
I don't know yet. Give you guys a little. Anyway, so if you ever have any more questions, you can feel. Yes.
What would you feel would be the difference between, when it comes to budgeting the advertising part? What would you feel would be the difference between, paying for that big advertisement as well as for a free way of advertising something like that?
Well, take every free method possible, and then on top of that, find ways to maximize some paid ones if you want to pay. There's lots of free methods to get your stuff out there. Unfortunately, the best ways to get things out there still require money. Right? I mean, we had a Facebook group for Mind's Eye, which is still out there. It was about 40, 50, maybe 60 people, and that's after I told the 1,400 people on my thing, go and join the damn page. Nobody would join the damn page because people just delete that stuff. They don't look at that stuff mainly. So I'm like, how do I get the hits up to impress people? Well, I paid for an advertising campaign globally and had people from Sweden and Finland and all the Baltic area, had Europe, and a whole group of people starting to watch the show in Italy, and they were sending me scripts in Italian saying, can you dub it in Italian? Can you dub it in Italian? It was like there were people all over the place. Australia was like, you guys want to come to a film festival? I'm like, no, I don't got that kind of money anymore to fly down to Australia, but here's the film anyway. And so I started, I paid for that monthly. I paid about $100 a month for 6 months just to try it out, to draw in traffic. And within 6 months, our Facebook group went from 40, 50, 60 to 900, almost 1,000, because people were adding it. And I was selling DVDs online. It was crazy how it was working out. So there is your trade-off. Yes?
So you're saying dropping the little bit of extra cash for a more exhibitor booth at a given convention is as completely worth it if you got the cash to drop and you want to get more notice than you want to get widespread?
Dropping the cash is worth it.
Cool.
If you have the excess income and you want to treat this like a hobby, you want to treat this like you're going to justify spending this money, 10
This
minutes.
is your 5-minute warning.
I got it. Looking for you. Waiting for you. I was waiting for you.
Thank God I got 5 minutes left on my
Yes.
card.
Dropping that money is good to do. If you feel that you want to pay for it, make sure your idea is solid. You need to do your research. Takeaway notes, do the research on your idea. Follow your background first. Follow what you know and find something original in what you know and do your research on it. 2, don't be afraid to spend just a little bit of money. If you have to work at Tim Hortons or wherever it takes to make that money, take your time, find the money, make it happen. find a good blend between the friends you trust and people that you don't really know. Because you want the people you don't know on there because they want to use you to get further in their careers, and you want to use them to get further in your career. That's perfect.
Networking
It's
is a huge
symbiotic
part.
relationship. It's huge. Never say no to people who want to talk to you because you never know who they are and what they can do for you. Don't be afraid to ask questions to people that you might perceive as someone who knows what they're doing. Perceive, but they know what they're doing, right? I still don't know what I'm doing, but I just kind of step through it. And
Thanks, man.
the number one rule is, don't give up. You can't give up. There were so many times where I was sitting there, ready to rip out whatever hair I've left on my head, going, my God, I don't know how I'm gonna make rent. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. It's just I gotta give it. Like you can't give up. And then eventually, it'll work. 2 years of this stupid project, and finally, I go to Toronto on a regular basis to sit down with famous writers and stuff to have them tell me which characters they're turning into females. Right?
Oh,
And you go,
lovely.
You can't do that. And they're like, yes, we can. You signed the rights. And I'm like, oh, please don't do it. Okay. But then they explain to me why. You know, the network says there's too many males in it. It's a sausage fest. You got to turn a guy into a girl or whatever it is, and then we'll make it all equal. And then they're like, which one are you going to turn? I'm like, oh, God. Not the one I played.
Or hey, you could make it a little more controversial and have them turn into a girl halfway through.
We're looking at a youth audience here. The networks, despite the fact that the networks,
This is YTV we're
we know
talking
that
about.
youth knows that. Yeah, but we know that people are watching this stuff and they think that would be hilarious. But the networks have things that they have to abide by, which I think is funny because they spend all this time trying to make people watch this wholesome content, and all they do is flick the channel to the very next station and they watch Jersey Shore, and it undoes everything. Everything.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to peer through the window.
Last question.
I just like you work with kids and that.
Never again.
Yeah, I wondered why exactly you did a kids series. Like, it was like you're looking for like people with disposable income who are net savvy. Why children?
Well, because this is actually about my childhood. When I was kids, we
Nice.
used to go in the woods with hockey sticks and beat the crap out of each other. From age 9 to 18, not kidding. We stopped only because a tooth got knocked out. We
lovely.
would go and we would fight each other in the woods and we would adopt personalities. So that's where it stemmed from. So
My name's Chris, but I go by Ishida.
Thanks, guys.
Did I give you a card?
No.
Oh. I'm here as media.
Yeah, I'm not here as media, but I am media.
Yeah. You want to talk about opportunities? Just today.